But we're up at the start now for another cracking international race, the Stewards, the Premier Open 4, Martin.
This is really one of the regatta's oldest events. Matthew Pinsent, the umpire. So we have on the left-hand side, on the Berkshire station, Rowing Canada and Shawnigan Lake School, Iwashko, Ross, Clegg and Cullen. And then on the right-hand side, the Buckinghamshire station, the Croatian Rowing Federation, Pat and Anton Lončarić and Martin and Valant Sinkovic, the two most famous men in rowing for some time now. And it's very difficult to see the Croatians being beaten in this race, Sarah.
Yeah, they raced at the World Cup in Lucerne last weekend, the Sinkovic brothers and the Lončarić brothers. Probably struggling to be at the front end of that field, but I think they're starting to find their groove here. They looked pretty good yesterday when they, of course, took out the British combination. But a pretty fast start here from the Canadians, really sitting side by side here with the Croatians, Mark.
Yeah, let's talk about the Canadians. They're coached by Lauren Fisher, the 39-year-old who did row for Great Britain back in the day and coached for Great Britain. She coached the women's quad in Tokyo in the Olympics to a 7th place, but now the men's national coach for Canada. A couple of these boys missed Olympic qualification last year in Lucerne, so Canada had no men's boats in the Olympics. So this is a massively important row for them, Sarah.
Yeah, the Canadians looking pretty long through the front there, getting well set over off the back, long arms, getting nicely connected through the front, whereas you look at this aggressive style of the Sinkovic and Lončarić brothers. A little look across there from the bow seat. Of course, these two men in the front of the boat, Martin Sinkovic, Valant Sinkovic, 3-time Olympic champions and Olympic silver medalists. Do you think they're going to stick with this boat, Mark?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think the Canadians are rowing really smoothly. I like what they're doing. I think Joel Cullen, the 25-year-old at strokes, got a beautiful rhythm. The 6'5" former Husky from Chilliwack, British Columbia. He rowed 7 in that 8 that missed qualification. But the smoothness is just no substitute for the raw power. I mean, Martin and Valant Sinkovic, 35 and 36, they are putting through an incredible amount of power. I'd kind of like to see them a little bit smoother, maybe a little bit more aggressive, but that certainly is the style they've developed in this 4 and probably should take them to a first-place finish in this race.
And is this a boat class that they're going to stick with now, or was this a special project for Henley?
That's a great question. This is the boat class for Shanghai and the World Championship as yet another shower comes down. And we see up in the bows Pat and Anton Lončarić, 24-year-old twins. Anton Lončarić, such a brave attempt at the Olympic Games. They were there in the double scull because the Sinkovics told the Lončarić brothers, we want to do the pair, not the double. So the Lončarićs switched from sweet rowing to sculling. It wasn't their forte, but in the semi-final, Anton Lončarić had a massive fever, and they weren't that quick. So it's a stormy Henley scene, and you can see the squalls on the course. We have got the Sinkovics powering down, and the Canadians. There we see Pat Lončarić, 24-year-old. It's been great to see Pat and Anton Lončarić in this 4. Really, they have not had, I think, the credit that they deserve. I mean, basically everyone looks at the Sinkovics, and I was guilty of that at the European Championships, talking to Martin and Valant, and you know, I think Anton came up and just sort of stood there, and I was like, I'm really sorry, but it must be like this, because everybody talks to Martin and Valant Sinkovic. They're such superstars. They won that incredible race against Great Britain in the Paris Olympics. They won that incredible race in the pairs in the Tokyo Olympics. They won that incredible race in the doubles in Rio Olympics, and then they took silver in the London Olympics. They are superstars of the sport, but Canada not out of it yet, Sarah.
And the rain really starts to come down here. We knew it was going to be a stormy old day. The sun's out 1 minute, and then squally storms coming through. So we'll see how this race progresses, but still it is Croatia in the lead in this race. We've got a great shot there looking at the Canadians.
Yeah, Joel Cullen in the strokes that we talked about him, Ryan Clegg. Well, let's talk about the bowman there, Axel Awosho, the man studying forestry, the 23-year-old from Alberta. Stephen Rost in front of him, the former Husky, rode internationally as a quad sculler. And then Ryan Clegg in the 3 seats from Newmarket, Ontario. These 4 men are pretty much, I think, the future of Canadian rowing, certainly for this year, for the World Championships. And it's a great row from the Canadians. They are within touching distance of the Croatians in biblical conditions. And a look round, not surprising, from Axel Awosho, the 23-year-old, just to check where they are. He needs to look the other way because they're very close to the Croatians, Sarah.
Wow, look at the wind across the water, Martin. That is such tough conditions. You can see both crews fighting it. They're getting knocked around by those gusts as they come through. Both crews stepping. Croatia seeing the response coming from Canada, taking their rate up again.
Yeah, Martin and Vanna, we know how they can sprint. That last 500 in the Paris Olympics where they took that gold medal, they snatched it from Great Britain. Their sprint was phenomenal. They've got an amazing sprint. And here they turn it on again as they come past the floating grandstand. They will never have rowed in conditions like this, but this is Henley Royal Regatta. Be prepared for anything. A look round from Pat Loncherich for the finish line. Croatia cross the line. They take the stewards. A brave row by the Canadians. Applause from the Loncherich brothers because they know how tough that race was, Sarah.
Wow, what a race there. It looked like it was over for the Canadians early, but what a comeback to get themselves back in striking distance. But they ran out of room, and too strong for them today, the Croatians.
The Sinkovics are the 2 most sporting guys in international rowing. Whether they come 5th or they don't make the final or anything, they've had bad results, but they always smile, they always congratulate the opposition. There's the Canadians, Awosho, Ross, Clegg and Cullen closest to us. Powering through to the finish, Sarah. And that is sweet. It's a second Henley medal at least, I think, for the Sinkovic brothers. They won the pairs back in 2018.
And
the Australians in that race.
And the Loncherich brothers with their KTC training hats on. I understand that they're going to be part of a crew racing at the head of the Charles later this year.